Woodstock Town Board, first order of business. If we have some public hearings. You want to get on?
Thank you. Okay.
First
Carrie.
up?
Terry.
Terry?
Yeah.
I've been struggling, my mind is turning on all the series of events, and I've just been struggling. And I see this thing going in a direction that is picking up sides again.
What thing?
I'm sorry, I'm here talking about the cemetery. Okay? I'm not here to make anybody angry. I just would like to express my concerns, okay? And Bill, right up front, I will tell you that I've talked to some of the council people. I'm sure you know that by now, but...
I do, actually.
Yeah, well, which is fine. I'm not
Oh,
sneaking
absolutely,
around.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because they're the town board.
Absolutely.
And you're busy, and so on and so forth. So, and it just keeps going around in my head as to, I'm not a member of the committee anymore. I'm off that committee. Meeting with the committee. I think it's good to have some fresh minds and new energies and let them look at it. They know how I feel, they know some of my opinions and so on and so forth. And that's it. 20 years is enough, okay? My concern is this. The cemetery is a community project. We know that because it's sacred ground. And even though it didn't turn out, obviously, like I would like to, but you and I have talked about, there was no other choice at that point in time to do that, to turn it over to the town. And unfortunately, a small town like Woodstock, you never know
That is a problem.
who's saying what, about who, or this or that or the other thing. All right? So I'm going to give you straight my 20 years experience with the cemetery, my thoughts, and what my concerns are. All right? I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just trying to be out in the open, and then that's it. I'm really getting tired of it, as I'm sure other people are. My one concern is what I've been hearing, again, hearing, and that topic is where I hear there is some talk about utilizing extra land at the cemetery for adding to our parking lot in town. And that's from what I understand, that's a true thing that has been mentioned.
A couple of different people have mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's not anything on...
I'm just saying, I know that, and I'm just saying, I'm expressing myself to that end, all right? We have, Shay and I different, I say we got about 850, he says he has 1,000, whatever. So, but we have between 800 and 1,000 graves left. When that is done, and I don't know how many years it's going to take, but I would imagine another 10 years. So. But when that is done, there is no more cemetery, and we have no more land. And you can only imagine when I heard about making a parking lot in the cemetery, I come up out of the chair, did a few spins, and fell down and said, "What in God's name? This is not a cash cow, and it's sacred land, and to desecrate that by putting in a parking lot, to me that would be a very, very bad move, and I think on behalf to the town board, you would have an uprising like you probably, well, you've all seen it before, so it'd be another thing, In Woodstock, and any projects that we do, and it's not just the town board and people there, it seems that we always have to reinvent the wheel, okay? In this particular case with our cemetery, what we're going through and everything, I think we're very fortunate in one way, all right, that this happened. I think, done correctly, this could work out absolutely as a community project. One of the things I had offered, and I'm not sure if my offer still stays on the table, but between myself, the former superintendent, Shay, and Kenny Peterson, we have 70 years of experience with this cemetery. Both successfully and failure-wise. And you learn from mistake. And all right? And, you know, when we submitted, when we relinquished, when we, whatever word we want to use, when we turned this over to the town, okay, it came over to the town. Basically, it's in your lap, Bill, right now.
The board's lap.
I understand that, but you've been doing.
I am a little tired about keep hearing my name.
No, I understand, I'm not accusing you, but I mean,
The board.
initially the thing came, you know, got in your lap. This is, and that's my point, this is the board's thing. This is why I talk to you all, to bring you up to snuff and saying, you're just as involved and responsible for this as Bill is,
Absolutely.
okay? And I don't understand a couple things. I mean, you're a town supervisor. You have a business. You plow snow. You're a member of the fire company, and God knows what else. I mean, I don't know how you holds it now. You understand? It's a busy, busy thing. All right? I know the committee has made up a wish list. One of the other things I want to bring up, it's my
I would
opinion.
ask you to wrap it up, Terry, only because it's a 2-minute, everybody
Oh,
gets
sorry.
to, and you've been way over.
Okay. There's a number of things that go on here. I would ask each of you, all right, because this is I think, a very important project that we're involved in here. I would ask each of you, maybe, if you get the chance, talk to the town of Rhinebeck, if it's the town of Rhinebeck or wherever. They're in the same situation as we did.
And I am going back and forth with them.
Oh, you have spoken to them?
Absolutely.
Great, because I talked to some people over there.
And for that matter, just so you're aware, I mean, Shay and I talk almost at least every other day.
Oh, well, fine,
Yes.
I'm just saying.
And Ken Peterson has been invaluable, so.
Kenny's got knowledge and memory. But with Rhinebeck, they have a very concerned group of citizens. They have their former superintendent is doing there, and the town itself is very glad that that's all coming place. And my suggestion here is, we have that same thing. We have some very concerned citizens that have bright ideas, they have the energy, not me included. We have the experience, and I hope that would not be, I would hope that
And they
that,
were here, we're talking about that as a possibility.
sorry.
We are, you were here when Iris gave the presentation, and I've met with Iris since. We're fine tuning what that would look like.
Which is great. But again, this is sacred ground. Let's keep that in mind. Let's make it a community project and utilize the talent that we have in town. And I think it could come off smoothly, and I think it could be a very successful enterprise.
I think it is coming off smoothly. So I'm not sure what the huge concern. I think everything seems to be going along well.
All right, then again,
Yeah.
chatter.
Yeah.
And they hit me. So that's what I'm presenting.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Terry. Shay, I think you.
I want to talk about my candidacy for the presidency.
Hey, Jay.
I would just.
I'm just going to ask you to stay over there so they can see you on the television.
I would just like to formally request a meeting with me and the town board to discuss some of my concerns with the cemetery and maybe some of the concerns that
Okay.
the board might have.
That was Tom. Shut that off.
Oh,
I didn't do it.
No.
And how I would go about, meeting with all of you and
Well,
going.
that would be an executive session,
Okay.
or it would be right here.
Well, I'd rather do it in private than
Well,
public.
there
Or it can't be?
There's fine lines. Why don't you come in tomorrow and you and I talk,
Okay.
and then I suggest that you talk to each of the individual members.
Okay. Is there a way to do it as a whole, or?
There's an open meetings law.
Laura, yeah, so not an executive session.
I don't understand what that means. I'm not.
We'll talk
really-
about that, tomorrow. I'll show you the, yeah.
Oh, okay,
We
so it's
can't
gotta
meet-
be in
We can't meet in
public.
private, yeah.
Okay.
Except for a certain number of reasons.
Okay.
You know, we could
Alright.
talk about your employment.
Well, it's with that in the cemetery
We-
and.
We could talk about discipline, we can talk about contracts. So I'm not really sure this would fit into that.
Okay.
Let's talk tomorrow.
Okay, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Well,
thanks,
thank you
Ed.
all for hearing me. all
I
right.
think any of us who
And
want to talk.
Shay Cox, 2020.
20.
I think any of us who want to talk at any time.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
one-on-one
Well,
is always
except
okay.
me.
One-on-one is
Okay.
always okay.
Actually, 2-on-2 is legal too. You can talk to 2 members and 2 members.
Okay,
No, you can't talk to a majority of the board.
okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Come see me
Unless it's
tomorrow.
a public meeting.
Okay.
Bill, we had one last sign up.
Steve?
Steve?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I just got these from Highland. It's the new
I have a
resolution.
very short one that I'm gonna offer
That's
tonight.
a short one.
It's even shorter, but
And, oh, so you're gonna put a resolution together?
I have a very short resolution, yes.
Steve, we got some more of us over here.
Is that the same thing you emailed, Steve? Steve, is that what you emailed?
Yeah. And, anyway, I don't know if you heard the last email I sent, the Assembly took it out of their bill. So we're making progress. We're talking about the forced 5G deployment. And they took it out of the bill, the clause that would subvert home rule. And so now we have to work on the Senate. And hopefully I'll be up there tomorrow in Albany helping with that. But Highland passed this resolution last night. And I didn't know you guys were already working on something, but I thought you might want to see what they passed. And I was told to bring this to you to let you look at it. So anything you can do, you know, we have they voted on it April 1st. I'm not sure when the cutoff.
It might come out of committee in a day or two.
Yeah, so tomorrow, I think it's coming out of committee.
Yeah.
And we're going to be up there tomorrow to deal with this.
Right.
But I don't know.
We'll talk about this towards the end of the meeting. That'll be the last resolution.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Steve, so just to clarify, so what you're saying is the Assembly, by taking it out of their voting, they're saying they do not support the governor signing this?
Correct.
Exactly. There was a clause in there that would have subverted home rule, and the Assembly, when it was made clear to them what this was, they took it out of the bill.
Okay, so the governor can't do it unless he's supported by the Senate and the Assembly?
He's still trying to push the Senate. He's trying to push the Senate bill through.
Yeah.
Okay, but do both halves of our state government have to approve it though to be able to do this?
I don't know.
We'll talk more about it when we get to
I
that.
don't think I got a
It's
copy.
an important topic.
Steve, excuse me, Jay didn't get a copy.
I just want to make it clear, Steve,
It's okay.
I know
I got it.
Cahill yesterday.
Yeah.
And then this happened.
I was thinking of you. Thank you.
He carries a big stick.
It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually one announcement. I just want to say a big thank you to our police department, fire department, our dispatch, and Central Hudson. The last 2 storms we've had, particularly that first one, they just did a tremendous job. We had a number of folks in town here who were without power for several days. Every time I got down into dispatch, there was, for the first couple of days of the storm, we had 2 dispatchers on a shift, and one of them was making calls from a list to folks just to check in on them, and or sending a patrol car out to different individuals. So they just, Lori Hamilton and her crew down there were just phenomenal. Jason Mazzilia, I hope I got that right, from Central Hudson. He and I spoke probably every 2 to 3
How did
hours,
Steve?
getting updates and asking where trouble spots were and concerned areas. So they were fantastic. Couldn't ask for better. And of course, the fire department, the police department worked their butts off. So I thank you. 2 things I just want to remind folks. In an event like this, we will always have the court open. All you have to do is show up at dispatch. If it is locked and they'll let you in, we can accommodate probably 100 folks in there. If we start to get numbers, then we'll reach out to the Red Cross and work on setting up an actual shelter with cots and whatnot. But in an event like this, if you need help, if your friends need help, send them to the dispatch. That's the first place to start. The other thing is, again, I will remind folks, and I know a lot of people did this, check on your elderly neighbors. You know, we've all got to pull together in times like this. And, you know, even our seniors do not like to leave their homes even in storms like this. So, you know, it really, we all have to step up, and again, I think Woodstock was really good about this. I stopped in to check on a couple, and they said, oh, so-and-so had already been in to see them, so it's good to see. The other thing is that dispatch does keep a list of people we should be checking on who may be living alone, don't have family in the area. If you know of anybody, either call and give us their names or have them call and reach out to us. We're happy to make as many phone calls as we have to. So, again, thank you to everyone, even our regular employees. You know, a lot of them, the ones up here in this office, they kept the office open with no power. So my hat's off to them for that, and everybody just pulled together very nicely. So, with
Can I add something? Do you mind? I'll come back to it later.
I
want to make a suggestion later.
Okay. So I'm going to jump into resolutions at this point. Whereas the water sewer superintendent has had Parkson Dynasand filters, at the sewer treatment plant inspected, and whereas it is determined said filters are in need of reconditioning, and whereas Parkson is the sole source provider of service and repairs for said filters, and has provided the town with an estimate of $27,900 for reconditioning both filters, be it resolved to establish the Parkson Dynasand Filter Capital Project number .086. Be it further resolved to appropriate the sum of $30,000 from the sewer repair reserve to the Parkson Dynasand Filter Capital Project number 0.086, and be it further resolved the transfer of $30,000 from the sewer repair reserve is subject to permissive referendum as it relates to Article 7 of the New York State Town Law, and be it further resolved, the town clerk is directed to place the following ad in the official newspaper of the town. On March 13, 2018, the Woodstock Town Board adopted a resolution authorizing the transfer $30,000 from the sewer repair reserve to the Parkson Dynasand Filter Capital Project number .086. This resolution is subject to permissive referendum pursuant to the provisions of Article 7 of the New York State Town Law by order of Town Board Jackie Early with 2 E's, Town Clerk.
Second.
Okay, so I think you all saw Larry's email speaking about this, and in the estimate, it did come in at $27,900. They did point out that there could be a few extra things. They're assuming that there were a couple of things that were in good condition, but if they needed to be replaced, it could bump it up a little bit more. So that's why I put it at $30,000. Whatever's left over will go back into the sewer repair reserve. Anybody have any questions?
No. Can I ask, what's the balance in the reserve?
I want to say it's 86,000 and change. I can double check.
No, that's fine.
I
Just run around.
when I looked at it the other day, I think that's what it
No,
was.
wrong slide. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological movement disorder of the central nervous system, which has a unique impact on each patient. And whereas according to the Parkinson's Action Network, the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, the National Parkinson's Foundation, the American Parkinson's Disease Association, and the National Institutes of Health, there are over 1 million Americans diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And whereas the symptoms include slowness, tremor, difficulty with balance and speaking, rigidity, cognitive and memory problems. And whereas although new medications and therapies may enhance life for some time for people with Parkinson's, more work is needed for cure. And whereas increased education and research are needed to help find more effective treatments with fewer side effects and ultimately a cure for Parkinson's disease. And whereas the multidisciplinary approach to Parkinson's disease care includes total wellness support and caregiver groups. And whereas April has been proclaimed as Worldwide Parkinson Awareness Month for all to recognize the need for more research and help in dealing with the devastating effects of Parkinson's disease. Therefore, be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board does hereby proclaim April is Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the town of Woodstock. I would add in memory of Councilman Steve Knight.
Yeah, I'd like to second this
Thank you,
memory of my mom.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be it resolved to schedule a public hearing for the purpose of soliciting public comment on proposed local law number 1 of the year 2018, a local law to establish a noise ordinance, such public hearing to be held at a meeting of the Woodstock Town Board scheduled for March 20th, 2018 at 7:30 at the town offices, 45 Como Drive, Woodstock, New York, and be it further resolved, the town board authorizes and asks the town clerk to place the following notice in the official town paper. At a Woodstock Town Board meeting held on March 13, 2018, Town Board resolved to schedule a public hearing on local law number 1 of 2018, noise ordinance, for Tuesday, March 20, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. at the town offices.
Second.
You will have a copy of this, I believe. You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Because I've already been asked, and I know there's been an inquiry made, if people need to get a hold of this morning.
We have it on the website. It's been posted on the website. They can come up here and get a copy. And I'm only one vote, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is not something that I would anticipate voting on next week. So, you know, I imagine that at least we wouldn't adopt anything
No, I
until
just
April.
don't want
Yeah.
it filled in before they get here.
Absolutely, and listen, I'm looking for input. I think, you and I in particular spent a lot of time on it, and I think we're in a pretty good spot. The police department feels comfortable that it's something that they will be able to enforce. But looking for input, so, any other questions?
Did you take tape decks out of it? Because then otherwise you might as well put a Victrola in there too.
No, I think the text is still in there. I can
Is it?
take it out.
So it's on the website, we can tell people that that's where they
Yes.
can look and see it? Okay.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Tape decks.
That's what it said.
I know, Jake. So, you know, there could be a couple floating around.
Well, I have one, but I don't.
He's still got his 8-track.
Whereas the Highway Department's truck number 19, 1996 International Dump Truck, has been in service since 1996, currently having approximately 79,000 miles on the odometer, and truck 14, a 2004 Ford F450, has been in service since 2004 when purchased by the Woodstock Water Department and later bought by the Highway Department, currently having approximately 106,000 miles on the odometer. And whereas the highway superintendent is requesting to replace both trucks with the purchase of one truck that can serve the purpose of both plow sander in the winter and dump truck for summer, and will be able to carry 4 to 5 people instead of only 2, therefore be it resolved to surplus truck number 19 and 14, and be it further resolved to authorize the highway superintendent to purchase a used 2016 Dodge Ram 5500 crew cab with bump box 4x4 with a current mileage of 30,438 miles in amount not to exceed $49,096. And be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum, and be it further resolved to authorize the town clerk to post in the edition of the official town newspaper on March 13, 2018, the Woodstock Town Board adopted a resolution authorizing the transfer of $49,096 from the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve number .002. This resolution is subject to permissive referendum pursuant to the provisions of Article 7 of the State of New York State Town Law by order of Town Board, Jackie Early with 2 E's, Town Clerk.
Second.
Any questions on this?
I was talking to him this morning about,
Yes.
they're good with it.
It seems like a good move. This truck will be a little bit more economical to use, it'll be a little bit more efficient. And, our insurance will go down a hair because now we're only gonna have one instead of 2, so it
Plus
seems to make a lot of sense.
And they do real well with reconditioning used equipment when they get it. So
We've got 2 great mechanics up there, and this is only really a year and a half old, so it's in pretty good shape. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Whereas the town of Woodstock solicited bids for a 22 kW generator, and whereas the town obtained prices of $4,797 from both Lowe's and Northern, that should be Northern Tool and Equipment,
Yeah.
including transfer switch, $5,384.48 from James Brunner, including transfer switch and a 1,200 watt portable generator, $9,860 from Wind Power for generator only, and $11,581 from Yulin, including transfer switch. And whereas James Brunner was not the lowest bidder, but is a local business, offers an additional portable generator which has use, oh, my split, oh, it was off, to the town, will be able to service, and he will be able to service the generator. Therefore be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to purchase a Generac Guardian 22 kW generator with transfer switch and 1,200 watt portable generator from James Brunner for $5,384.48.
Second.
Any questions on this one?
Yeah, I guess I do have a couple questions. So one is, are we replacing a generator?
No.
Or we need a new one because, I'm sure it's always good to have a generator.
Yep.
If we didn't have one, or we need an extra one? Or?
So here's the story. Right now we have, I forget if it's a 12 or 14 kW generator right outside this building. It does not service the entire building.
Ooh, okay.
It does not service the supervisor's cottage, which is fine because he can be in the dark. That's not a problem. However, and Carrie and Pam keep me in line, dark or not. However, the well that services the water is in my cottage. So for that purpose alone, we need a generator over there.
Yeah, okay.
22 kW generator will service this building adequately, including an addition. Then we'll take the 12 kW, which is a good generator, it's in good condition, and move that over to the supervisor's cottage.
Oh, okay.
So we will have two.
Yeah.
Now, I did talk with I had a chance over the last day or two to talk with both Richard and Lauren. So, just for full disclosure, we started to talk a while back about adding on to this building. We have no plans at the moment, so I don't know what the needs are going to be as far as electric. But we feel the 2200 will cover a lot of an addition here. However, if we were to say do heat pumps like we have over at the community center, it may not be quite enough, in which case we would need another generator.
Yeah.
But I've talked to Mike, I've talked to both these gentlemen, I've talked to Al, and having two smaller generators is not the end of the world and actually serves a function. If one goes out, at least we still have some energy. So it's conceivable down the road we might need to get a second generator, smaller or of equal size, depending on what we do for an addition. But everybody felt that wasn't a crazy thing. So I'd rather move forward with this 22. When we jump up any bigger, the price is really, for instance, the one over the community center I think is 40 or 50, which conceivably we could use here, and that was $40,000.
Wow.
This generator is going to cost me $53 and a couple $1,000s to install it, so we're under $10,000. So to me it makes sense. And I wanted to,
Yeah, that makes sense. And which budget is it coming out of?
this will come out of, we have, if you remember, we started a fund to do renovations and improvements to this building. It will come out of that one. And at the time we transferred that in there, I mentioned this would probably be one of the first purchases.
And I guess my last question is, so how did the current generator do when the power was out?
Generator was fine, but it doesn't it's limited.
Right.
It's not big enough.
It only
Teresa's
powers,
only one computer.
Yeah,
It powers
and-
the light, it powers the heat.
well, not, yeah.
But-
And it actually, only the lights in our office there, these don't work, and the computers, everything's down.
Right.
So we need to upgrade that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's necessary. in my opinion.
Bill,
Good answers, thank
I don't know what the difference is between a 22 kilowatt generator and a 1200 watt portable generator.
A kilowatt is 1,000.
Yeah,
So the 1200 watt is only a little portable generator. It's a package. He's selling them as a package. So we're getting 2 generators from Brunner. One of them will be the generator that will go out here. You know, listen, we have to justify, because the low bid is Lowe's or Northern Tool. But our procurement policy does allow for spending a little bit more from a local vendor. The Brunners live in Woodstock. Lowe's and Home Depot sell us a generator and maybe help us put it in the truck going out the door. Jim Brunner will service it long term. So, you know, there are a number of advantages. Plus we get the additional generator, which I wasn't sure it was worth it or not, but both Mike and Al feel that having an additional portable generator is worth it. So we're only paying a couple $100 for that when you factor everything else in. So,
you. Sounds good.
all in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Be it resolved to schedule a special town board meeting for Wednesday, March 14th at 6 p.m. for the purpose of interviewing candidates for the Woodstock Human Rights Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, Bill,
Yes?
because of the change in date,
Mm-hmm.
I may not be able to make it.
Okay.
I'll try very hard because it's important to me.
Okay.
Also,
We're-
businesses.
We're not going to, we probably won't interview everyone, but I think we've got 4 or 5, and then we'll probably set up to do another 3 or 4. So, 2 more resolutions. Whereas the United Public Service Employees Union has failed to recognize a significant typographical error in the contract, therefore be it resolved to rescind the town board ratification of said contract. Second for, okay. So,
Bill,
yes.
what is a significant?
I'll explain.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, if you recall, when we voted on this, I told the board that there were really, that it was basically, it followed the employee handbook, that the only significant change was that where the handbook said they got a 2.5 hours or 2 hours of minimum overtime and a half an hour to get there, we made it 2 hours and they have an hour to get there or something like that. There was some change to that. And then we added in that it was a 2.25% raise and 2.25% raise for next year. When Mr. Richardson for the town typed this up, one of the numbers inadvertently got changed to 2018 in the part that talked about how much they paid for insurance, which are all our other union contracts, our handbook, all used the year 2012. We had never negotiated this. And so this got sent, we immediately said, well, wait a second, that's a typo, and we haven't heard anything since. They have not yet voted on this either. But we did tell them, look, this is a typo, we're not honoring, this is not what we bargained for. So in any event, that's where we stand with this.
Mhm.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, I guess I get another question. Actually. So as we rescind it, so we have to, then there's no contract with the union.
There's no contract now anyway, because nobody, they haven't voted on it, and nobody signed it.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what's going on there. So, and if we talk about it any further, we should talk executive session,
Yeah.
which I'm happy to go into.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Actually, maybe at the end of the night, we will just talk about it for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Whereas the Woodstock Town Board opposes any, I took a little umbrage here, I assumed we were all on board with this, opposes any attempt to weaken home rule with regard to the deployment and installation of 5G technology, and whereas the Woodstock Town Board is opposed to addition of new Article 13-E titled Small Wireless Facilities Deployment to the General Municipal Law. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to deliver this concern to the state representatives in the Assembly and Senate, the governor, and any other appropriate parties.
Second.
Okay, for purpose of discussion. So, this has been brewing. Steve, you sent some emails a month ago, 2 months ago, I can't even remember now.
I sent you
I've been in contact with Cahill's office. So the governor, in his budget proposal, snuck in there this idea that he would take general municipal law and slide into it this deployment that basically took it out of the hands of the town. We are a home rule state, which says that, not everything, but there are a number of things that are within our purview. Planning is one of them. And this would gut that. I can tell you that most likely the supervisors, when we meet next Tuesday, will vote to also support this. I know in speaking with most of the supervisors, they're not happy about this at all. Unfortunately, though, and the reason I just want this simple resolution, it actually goes back to Woodstock Way. We were all in agreement about opposing that pilot. In my talks with the IDA, rather snobbily, I would say, they mentioned that there was no
no
resolution. And I said, well, you got a letter with all our names on it. They wanted a resolution. So I want to be able to have a resolution tomorrow if I get any feedback like that, which I will have the town clerk stamp. And actually, I have one with the vote that we'll print up if
Okay,
need be.
and I need a copy of that also.
Because you can have them
Thank you.
all go.
Perfect.
Right now, it's in some committee in the Senate. I'm not quite sure. My understanding is that it always had to pass both the Assembly and the Senate. What's that?
It's part of the budget process.
Yes. But there seems to be some great concern that if the Senate passes it on in the next couple of days, that it's a done deal. I'm not going to pretend to understand. But anyway, I'm going to be busy making phone calls tomorrow. I can tell you that through the supervisors, we got a list of 5 senators who are on this budget committee that I've already called their offices today and registered complaints. And I took a liberty and said from the town board because
Absolutely.
I felt secure that where you guys all stood. I also left the same message with the governor's office. And I will continue tomorrow to do that. I also called Speaker of the Assembly, even though he's pulled it out. I thought it important for the Assembly to know how critical this is for us. And whatever way he can sway it, that would be good. So that's where it is at the moment. Steve, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I did actually want to say something, and that is that people may not realize, but this is a national strategy by the telecom industry. It's not just New York State. They're doing this in every state. And so I'm real glad this is happening, that the board is taking this position. And I feel good. I think we're going to beat it.
And I do want to point out, and you were a gentleman for correcting the record, but Steve had mentioned that we let slip by last year when the DEC was looking at changing this from, I don't know if it was an unlisted or a type 1 action, but they changed it to a type 2 action. And unfortunately, when that happened last year, we only knew about it, I think letters were due in a day or two, or it was a very short period of time. And I did register a complaint with the DEC. Obviously, it fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But today, I had Kerry note names, numbers, and whatnot in my log, so that it's easy for me to go back and say, yes, here are the calls I made today. Here are the calls I made tomorrow.
Awesome.
So,
I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Then can you just reread the wording of that, if you would please?
Yes, whereas the Woodstock Town Board opposes any attempt to weaken home rule with regard to deployment and installation of 5G technology. I will just say, I put that in there to be very defined, because I'm asking you guys somewhat to trust me to speak for us.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So I wanted to define it. I'm just talking about 5G technology
Okay.
and the deployment. And likewise, whereas the town board is opposed to the addition of a new Article 13-E, small wireless facilities deployment to the general municipal law, we're opposed to that. So again, I'm addressing those two specific things.
Okay.
The next one that comes down the line, you may not want me to speak for. So,
Okay, well, that's fine, so that's good.
yes.
I think we should be clear, though, on what, these aren't necessarily small. For people, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but these basically are almost like repeaters that go every 500 feet on telephone poles.
Is that how close they go to?
Yeah, they have to be 500 feet apart, number one. Number two, they call them small cells,
No, they're not.
but the thing about them is that, you know, with the bigger, on the towers, they're far away from you. These actually are stronger, more powerful, because they're closer. They could be right outside your window of your house if the pole ends up next to your house.
So
There's
you
also, in some of the stuff I read up, they can leak
Yeah.
to the ground. I'm not quite sure what happens to environmentally. But my main objection was the basically usurping home rule
Yeah.
on this whole thing.
That's
We're
what I'm-
perfectly capable of debating this with Steve or anybody else and making our own decisions, and that's the way we should keep it.
And honestly, I mean, if the town looks at it, we may find there's a couple of spots where these repeaters would
I
not.
had one person contact me saying they want it.
Right. You know, it was out in 212 in Willow. You may be able to put a couple in that
It
are.
doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
The problem with 5G is they line of sight,
Mhm.
and they have to, it's a really intense infrastructure.
But don't they go back to the telephone line or not? They have to go from repeater to repeater.
From
To relay
5G unit to 5G unit.
See, I heard otherwise. Okay, so
That's what line of sight is.
understood.
It's wireless.
But my understanding was if you have one here, if you have one on this telephone pole here, it'll do a certain radius, and it doesn't have to see the next one.
It does have to see.
Okay, so that's-
It has line of sight.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they have to put one on a corner, and then it'll shoot it either way. It has to be an intense infrastructure. By the way, it's the same, these milliliter frequencies have never been used publicly on anybody in the human race, so we don't even know what the effects are. The other thing is, where they have used them is with the military in crowd control.
Right.
So who wants to have this crowd control device set up? That it's, they all have to go into our houses, you know? They
Yeah, well,
flip a switch. and we'll have to
We
go into
don't
our
want Willow to get overcrowded.
All in favor?
Aye.
house.
Lynn, there's your
Can I get a copy
Thank
of one of
you.
those?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So why don't we go into an executive session to discuss the,
Can I just bring up something in relation to the
Yes.
storm?
yeah, sure.
I don't know if you guys follow.
Oh, yeah, I got another thing. Go ahead.
I spoke to somebody, tracked me down, and spoke to me. Would it be possible, taking all the information you talked about in terms of the storm, in terms of the number, phone numbers,
Hey, Richard,
I can't hear you.
Richard, I can't hear you. I know.
Would it be possible to condense that information that we want to get out to the public? Not everybody's on Facebook. You know, seniors have trouble enough, especially if power goes out. If you look at the Woodstock Times, periodically, or maybe it's every week, they have a little box that mentions helplines, opioid help, those types of things. Would it be possible periodically that we run a box similar to that advises people in case of a storm, this is what happens? In other words, you're not relying on electronics for at least getting some of the information out. So that box is always there as a public service, basically.
I wonder if we should, when we send our tax bills out in January, just send a little card out.
Whatever, I'm just trying to,
Okay.
you know.
I like that
The only
idea.
trouble with that is, you know, you put your tax bill away, you know, 10 months later, you get a big storm, and you don't know where it is.
Right.
And you might be able to pick up the Woodstock paper and.
Well, it wouldn't be on the tax bill, it'd be something separate.
Right.
Yeah,
But I like your idea too.
Put it on your refrigerator.
I'm saying it, including what you're doing, not in addition, not,
No, I'm sorry. The point that was made to me is, I don't use Facebook.
Yes.
Electric's down, I don't even have a computer, I don't have a cell phone, blah, blah, blah. You know.
It absolutely is limited, and that's why I encourage people to call in while we have electric and give us the names of people, because
Oh,
again,
yeah, I agree.
the police department, we were calling, and a lot of the seniors still have landlines, but we were also, the PD, you know, if they were out in Willow and they knew that, dispatch knew there were 2 or 3 houses, they'd go knock on the door and check on them. So,
Can I say something, Bill?
Yes.
For the first time, during the last storms, we had a lot of complaints, and me included, that there was nothing on the radio. Everything it was just like canned music and stuff. This time, for the first time, I actually heard on our battery radio that it said that there was a comfort center in the town hall in Woodstock, and it was on our local radio station. So at least the word was getting out, and then you know, for something it was better than last time.
So I have
It would help if you called us, since
Yeah.
after all, we are an emergency station.
my
And,
apologies.
Also, you know, we do make announcements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just
And
gonna
we
say
weren't
that,
informed that there was a comfort station, but when I went down there myself, I did find that there was some dry ice, and I was making announcements
Yeah,
about
it
that.
was the dry ice announcements.
Right.
But I think-
I'll work harder
As
on
well
that,
as,
Felicia.
Like the dry ice and the water.
Yeah.
announcements
That- but that's good to know.
Central Hudson on the air.
Yeah, but that's good to know, because
Actually,
a lot of
Lynn-
people call us,
Maybe I
and
should give this to dispatch.
You could.
yeah, okay. But we also, but if you've got another
You got-
card,
you
I'll
got
take
another
one,
one?
because we will definitely.
Yeah, because we had set this up, I thought, you know, like last year or the year
Right,
before.
and one of the other things too is that people with oxygen and stuff like that really, you know, are the ones working with the emergency management to make sure that these are contacted immediately with it being off of, you know, power for X number of
You
times.
should take my card with my cell phone, because I'm not trying to, but you should feel free to reach out whenever there's an event like this.
Okay, very good.
the, on the, sort of the same,
If we're both thinking about it, one of us will remember.
Yeah, and
Or you'll
also,
get a reminder.
everybody gets busy with stuff, and that.
Well, yeah,
It's good.
that,
on the same subject, sort of, after one of the big storms in the past, there was an idea to, as far as checking on neighborhoods, an idea of setting up like almost like a block captain or somebody that would look into their neighborhood.
recently that was talked about? That's
No,
a-
it was talked about probably 4 or 5 years ago.
That's
And,
not a bad idea.
yeah, it just, the people that got a hold of it were, I don't want to say abrasive, but it didn't work out all that well, so.
That might be something we reconsider.
But that could be a good idea, because then, you know, somebody would have responsibility for checking in on a whole bunch of people, one less phone call, you know, and just an idea.
Yeah, I had an idea that reached off with your idea of sending something with the tax bill, refrigerator magnet.
Yeah, that's what I was
Right.
thinking.
Yeah.
A refrigerator magnet would be a lot better, because all that information that gets sent by the county in that bill comes to me and it gets tossed.
And when the power's out, you don't want to open your freezer.
Right, they don't read it, people just don't read it.
Then
It's
you won't just throw it in a place and forget
You
about it.
put it someplace, yeah.
Put it right up in your fridge, so, with the key information and the, because it probably wouldn't be that expensive, I don't think.
No, I'll look into that.
You can find all those, the same kind of people that do things for, like summer camps and stuff like that, with the hats and the emblems and stuff like that. And even Donroe trophies, you could probably get a bunch of those pretty reasonably. And you might even be able to get emergency management, my kind, and everybody else on board to do it,
Oh, cool.
because that would be an absolute way to,
Yeah, just, that'd be fine too, as opposed to the paper, that'd be great.
yeah, I think it's, yeah, the
There's
paper.
also, and I think I mentioned it last year, but there's also a system called New York Alert, which we used to use at my school. It'll text you, it'll dial your landline, it'll dial your cell, and it will email you. Anytime the supervisor or whoever is designated contacts the system, that message will go out. The only trouble with it is it requires training. It's not that easy to learn. Someone would have to learn the system.
The county,
but it's also free.
the county is, but the county is working, the county has a system similar to that. It's not really a great system. They are, as we speak, investing in a new system through New York State, which they hope to have up and running in less than a year, I believe.
New York Alert's already set up, I don't know what they're doing.
It could be New York Alert, I forget the name of it. But Steve Peters,
Free.
yes. But the county will operate that, so all we would have to do is call the county and say,
Yeah, that's what happens here.
I've got a problem here.
This is web-based, so somebody has to go on and type stuff in.
I would also like to thank a couple more people too. Steve Peterson from Emergency Management. You know, every time there's even a hint of a big storm, I usually get a call prior to the event from him, just checking in, and a couple of times throughout the event. And there's a number of times when I've reached out, he's always accessible. So again, it's great teamwork. I will also mention that on the Sunday of that event, I had to go out of town to see my boy in college for the day. And I ended up asking Lauren, Richard, and Reggie to cover for me and to sit in on a meeting. And I was very comfortable that I left the town in such capable hands. So thank you for covering for me. You guys did a great job.
Three of us to fill your shoes, Bill, but we did it.
The dispatch only called me twice to complain about you.
That was before.
Probably. Thank you, though. You guys did a great job, so I appreciate it. And thank you for helping with the dry ice and getting them into the community center. So, anybody have any other announcements? Reggie, you good? Okay. I'm going to move to go into executive session to discuss union contract negotiations.
Need a second?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.